Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm thrilled that you're here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. If you unexpectedly had overnight guests in your home, would you be prepared? Would you have everything you need for them to shower or bathe, have a good night's rest, and maybe have a quick little light breakfast before leaving the next day? Well, I had an experience this weekend that showed me where I was prepared and where I was not prepared. So I want to just dive into that just for a few minutes today because it really made me think about some practical things that might be helpful to all of us. Because, guys, one thing I have learned is you never know when you might need to have your home open for more than just your family or your friends or your neighbors. And there have been two experiences in my life post marriage and having a home that have shown me that. One was when in Alabama we had what we refer to in history, it's referred to as Snowmageddon. And within probably 2 hours, all of Birmingham was undrivable. People were stranded everywhere. They were walking to people's homes to stay. My kids were all in different places. Well, my twins were at a teacher's home because they walked from school. I had the baby, the younger one, with me, but we had neighbors who had kids. They had like 10 to 12 people that they were housing, feeding, and accommodating for days. That was actually a long event. Then my experience this weekend was not nearly that dramatic, and it actually ended up being a very pleasant, albeit eye opening experience. Zane had met on a pilgrimage in Rome. I don't know if those of you who follow me extensively, Zane converted to Catholicism about 2 years ago. That's a whole podcast for another time. So Zane fell in love with this family in Rome, and this family has 12 children when they were in Rome. Actually, Sarah, the wife, was pregnant with one, so there were 11 children at the time of their trip. But Zane knew that they were passing through to go to the beach. It's a 12-hour drive to the beach from where they live, and he invited them to come for dinner, and he made accommodations. He got them 3 rooms at a nearby hotel because they do have a special needs child. She has a baby that she's nursing, and they have all the children. It's the night before they were to leave for the beach the next day, and we get a call. We're waiting to meet them for dinner. That they arrive at their hotel here in Birmingham, and were on the floor about to go in, and they smelled what the children described as a skunk. Well, we all know that that was marijuana because that's the only thing that would smell like a skunk outside of a skunk. And the rooms were all full. Regions golf tournament was last weekend, and there were weddings. There was nothing anywhere. And we all spent up like probably an hour trying to find places to accommodate them. But because of the special situation with their size and so forth, needing refrigeration for medication, it just was not happening. So we were standing there, and they were all at a park. We met at a park, brought tzatziki's, we brought food. And first, I want to say, just to give a little bit of insight, they got to the park after realizing that their accommodations had fallen through. And they'd been riding 12 hours, had gone to a hotel before meeting us, learning that they did not have a room at the inn. And then they drive out to the park, and we watched as all 11 children, because the baby didn't get out, he was nursing. All 11 children, we saw them hopping out of the car and then walking over to where we were. It was like the Von Trapps, guys. There was not one complaint. Every child had a smile on his or her face, happy, joyful, came up, introduced themselves, immediately began throwing the ball, walking Tucker. They were taking good care of Tucker. The most precious children I've ever seen. This was my first meeting with them. And I just immediately thought, okay, I failed as a mother because I probably would have been the first one complaining and upset if that had happened to me. And of course, children learn from their parents. And that was my first conviction, looking at those children and the whole family and their joyful attitude in the midst of a very stressful situation. So that in itself was a conviction. So after we started finding that there were no rooms, I just started thinking, oh my goodness, now we have a house with two bedrooms on the top floor, master bedroom, and we have a basement with a bedroom, and we have tons of sofas. So immediately I knew, and as did Zane, that they needed to come to our home. I mean, there's no way we could have turned, not invited them. So the first thing that I thought was, and guys, y'all, some of you are going to laugh, some of you women, the first thing I thought, I know I do not have enough towels. Because, guys, everybody had driven 12 hours. They threw the ball, they did chase, they played with Tucker. We knew everyone needed a bath. I immediately went to towels. And when I tell you, the first thing I thought of were the towels that I happened to toss this very week before they came. I was like, I am an idiot. So I have learned never toss a towel, never toss a towel. As I was headed home to start getting things ready for our 12 overnight guests, I started texting neighbors who were friends. So I texted one. I don't think she was home. So then I texted my friend Chelsea. She's been on the podcast before. She's super savvy. I knew she would have extra towels. Well, she said, I'm on it. So I was not even home before she had towels together, washcloths. I ran up to her door, got them, got all the towels out that I had and that she had. And I think we were still like 3 or 4 short. So I'm just going to give a little, I guess, lesson that I learned after each thing that I realized that we needed. So my lesson with towels is this: never throw away a towel. And then, as Chelsea was saying when we were making the exchange, she said, Jamie, I've learned there are two types of towels, 2-tier and 1-tier. The 2-tier are just those, they're not pretty, they might not be soft. You just tuck them away somewhere. But when you need them, you've got them. Whether you're washing the dog, you've got a bunch of kids coming in with dirt, or you need to mop up something, you always have your 2-tier towels. And your 1-tier towels, of course, are the ones you want company guests to use, you want to use with your family. So, actually, yesterday, the Precious family's not here anymore. They're thankfully enjoying themselves at the beach after a wonderful time with us. But I went to TJ Maxx last night and I bought like I probably bought 6 towels and about 12 washcloths, and I am stocked with towels. So hopefully that is something that maybe someone like me who wasn't quite prepared, hopefully that tip will help you. Okay, the second thing that I immediately, of course, thought of, knowing they were going to need showers, was soap. I checked the boxes on soap because I have plenty of soap. I always have bars of soap. I keep them in our downstairs bath, our upstairs bath, and in our room. And I actually buy my soap at Costco. I get the Dove sensitive fragrance free because that will not bother anyone. I don't like fragrance anyway. So I had tons of soap. So that was great. So soap is another thing to always keep on hand. So, of course, if you have bathrooms, you'll probably have shampoo and conditioner in bathrooms. That's something everyone can share. So that was not a problem either. So being able to shower, those are the 3 things to always keep on hand: soap, towels, washcloths, and then shampoo and conditioner. Okay. So then I started thinking about, where is everyone going to sleep? So this family is so together. They knew exactly. They said, okay, based on your house and your bedrooms and so forth, we'll let the boys stay on one floor, the girls in the other. So we had the girls upstairs, the boys in the basement. So what I found out there was as long as you have blankets and pillows, it doesn't matter how many beds you have because kids do not care. They slept on. Now the girls had beds because we have two beds upstairs, but having beds is not a requirement for keeping a family who has kids, because kids, they really, and the younger they are, the more excited they are actually to either sleep on the sofa, sleep on the floor. You don't even have to have air mattresses. That's something I do not have. I just don't like a lot of bulk, and I just feel like maybe sleeping bags are fine, but we have enough sofas that the kids who didn't have beds, we just let them get on a cushy sofa, and we put like a sheet down and one blanket and a pillow. So that was pretty much taken care of. I think two of the little boys had to share a pillow. So for being able to accommodate, like for overnight with children, most people have enough beds for the adults and for the people who need beds. Just make sure that you have extra pillows on hand and enough blankets. And then just remember, with kids, two or three can get under one blanket. Sleeping bags might be nice. So that, and another thing that we had, and it's not necessary, but it is helpful to have on hand if you've got lots of people trying to sleep, are sound machines. And we have a sound machine in every room that there's a bed, because I can't sleep without a sound machine. I've trained myself. So I've actually learned I need to get maybe two more blankets and maybe a couple more pillows because we were a little short on those. Okay. Oh, wait, let me back up 1 second with like bathing and all that. Make sure you have plenty of toilet paper, which I keep so much toilet paper on hand that that was not a problem for us. So I do buy that in bulk as well. So the last thing is where you don't want to get caught off guard is not having enough food just to maybe have a quick and easy breakfast or a quick little something before you go to bed. And here's what I learned that I did not have enough of, and that was milk. Now, I realized later that I actually had whole milk in box containers out in my storage. I had purchased it during COVID, I think at Costco, and it's shelf stable. I totally forgot that I had that, or we would have had plenty of milk. We have dry milk. I don't think people really want to put dry milk on cereal or even drink it. Dry milk, you know. But anyway, it's just sort of an emergency type thing. But I've always tried to keep two half gallons, but I think I'm going to actually start keeping three because Zane and we love cereal. We use a lot of milk. So I had two half gallons, and that was just enough for everyone. I think there was even some left to have cereal. Now, cereal is another thing, and I do keep that out in our outside storage because that, if you have milk and cereal, you're good to go with getting people off on the road with just something at least until they can get to a substantial meal. So we keep cereal. So I was good there. I eat by with the milk, and I even had some almond milk because one of the children was averse to dairy. So if you've got milk and cereal, and then here's another thing that you might not think of, but I always keep these on hand. Number one, because it's easy and because we use these for small group, because I hate washing dishes and I hate running the dishwasher. I keep so many paper plates, paper bowls, and disposable utensils that I'm ready for an army, because let me just tell you, we had the family in the basement and they had everything they needed. I took down bowls, and I always get regular size bowls. I get small, but I get three different sizes, and I get paper. I don't get the styrofoam, and you can get these at Walmart, Target. So I had all of the bowls, and I had small plates, paper plates, larger paper plates, and a big thing of the disposable utensils with knives, forks, and spoons. So if you've got that to take down to the basement or wherever your guests are or in your main area, put that out with napkins. If you don't have napkins, you can put out a roll of paper towels. And you've got everything you need for them to have a quick bite. And of course, if you've got bread and a jar of peanut butter and jelly, you can do that. It does when you are rising to the occasion and you have unexpected or emergency situations, nobody cares what they're eating. They just are grateful for something. So, doesn't have to be complicated, but just always have spare utensils and plates that are disposable, and you will be so good to go. So I believe, my friends, that is all. So that got everybody. Okay, yes, if you have all of these things, and I will share a punch list in the show notes of things to have on hand just to be prepared. And I will also, if there was anything that I mentioned that I need to link to, I will do that as well. And I will say another thing that I do that did turn out to be a little helpful is I keep a freezer. And it was not necessarily helpful this time because I don't think we pulled any of that out. But I keep 2 freezers outside. And when I've had unexpected guests, especially kids, I pull out, there's 2 things that you can always feed kids, and they are thrilled. It's easy. Our chicken fingers, I get the Just Bare because they're fabulous. And I keep the chicken dipping sauce. I like the Primal Kitchen. You can get the Chick-fil-A. But if you have a bag of those, and then, and I know these aren't healthy, but then you have like a bag of corn dogs, and then, oh my goodness, what else? Oh, and tater tots. You can feed kids. You can just give them a corn dog, chicken fingers, tater tots, ketchup, mustard, and they're happy. And that's easy. I just throw everything in my air fryer, or if it's a lot, I just put it in the oven. But just things like that are always helpful to think about because as empty nesters, it's just Zane and me. Sometimes I think, I don't need this, I don't need that. But then I think, you know what? What if the kids come over unexpectedly? Or what if, what if, what if? And we had a what if weekend. It turned out to be amazing. That family was just incredible. And I did learn a valuable lesson about staying prepared to have company at the last minute. I hope that this was helpful, and I'm so grateful for all of you who tune in. And I'm always open to recommendations and suggestions for anything that you would like to hear from me. And as always, until next time, have a fabulous rest of your day. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the SavvyCast. If you'll take the time to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, that would mean so much. As always, thank you for listening and have a blessed day.